I'll let Phil speak about his English program because he's doing amazing work. But at Oakwood Collegiate, we're really fortunate just to have a lot of like-minded people that really care about kids and education. We're trying to support each other in every step of the way. I'm connected to another ACL. I think Steve's done a wonderful job with allowing us to team up. I've had more connections with people in my building this year, and I've been at Oakwood for 15 years, than ever before, because I get an opportunity to see what Phil's doing in his English class. I know what's going on in math. I know what's going on in science, and you get a whole building perspective on the way that you're teaching your kids instead of just your own personal hub. Because I think that happens a lot in high schools, that you get an opportunity just to see your department, but you never get an opportunity to see what other people are doing. And what we do in phys ed is really try to support what's going on in our academic classes. So our big thing this year in phys ed is communication, teaching communication, modifying our health units to do that, and just working with our kids to build better habits. That's the big thing and a big push for us is better habits, how to prepare yourself for school, and how to communicate. Because we're always doing it, whether it's verbal or nonverbal, it's always happening. You're expected to do it, but oftentimes no one's teaching you how to do it. So we're implicit in doing that.
Yeah, well, yeah, explicit, but also that because every boy takes phys ed and every guy loves the phys ed teacher. I know that. I was a phys ed teacher. The connections with those boys are critical. And so if we get him to teach them right on how to behave in this restaurant, then they can teach them the skills that they need or what they're missing. Because then they won't be flipping tables. And they know that when I walk into class, I better have my pen ready, I'm ready to go, I'm this, I'm that, because Mr. Miller has taught me that when we walk into classes is what we need to do. So whatever his unit, and I'm proud of this, his unit that he taught on communications and behavior and etiquette and expectations at Oakwood, the evaluation, the assessment is not happening in his class.
It happens elsewhere.
He's given the chart, the whatever, the rubric to the teacher so that when they apply it and the teacher see it happening there, you get your mark. Everybody understand that? So what you learn, you apply and you get the mark.
Sorry to cut you off. For us, learning is always accompanied with a change in behavior. So that's a big thing for us. If there's learning, for us to see that there's actual learning occurring, there has to be a change in who you are as a person. So that's what we're trying to promote with a lot of our boys and our girls as well, that whatever is going on in their classroom, it has to be accompanied by a change in themselves as a person. Okay, so I'll hand it over to Philip because
we end up taking so much
he's doing amazing work.
It's the gym side of it.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about a few minutes, at least, about what brought me here, I guess, to this moment, realizing that this is what we're going the right direction, it's the right thing to do. And partly this mirrors something that Jim said earlier and reinforces that. You know, I started teaching 13 years ago, and I was really lucky to be at a great school in Scarborough. It was a big school with a big South Asian population. We had a gifted program there. And I very clearly remember my first day of teaching. You know, as I'm sure every teacher would very much remember that first day of walking into the classroom, not knowing what you're going to do. And my first class was a grade 9 applied English class. If you looked around that class, it was almost entirely black boys. In a school, and this is a school at a gifted program. If you walked into the gifted program class, you would see Asian, South Asian kids, almost entirely Asian and South Asian kids. So it was really, and not only that, obviously being minimally aware, which I think I am, you kind of notice there's a problem right there. The other big problem, I thought, as a first-year teacher is, why are they giving me this course? I'm the least experienced person in this building, and you're giving me what is probably the most challenging course.
I'm glad they gave it to him. Now he's where he's at.
Well, I'm really happy that I got it too. I'm not ashamed to say that it was not a successful year for me, right? Because I didn't know what I was doing, and it's always perceived as you're going to be paying your dues, which is to me totally backwards, right? It should really be the other way around. You don't give the least experienced teachers the most difficult courses, so it doesn't make any sense. And yet there I was. It's like they were saying, well, these kids aren't that important, so we'll give them to you. Don't worry. Be fine, right? No, these are the most important kids that we could be teaching, right? You need someone who knows exactly what to do and has the passion to do that, right? So, since being a department head, I never take the choice courses. I don't take the writer's craft and the whatever, right? I always make sure I get a lot of those I always make sure I go up the core classes, all those courses where I know that I'm going to be able to do something and help out. And that's why I was so happy that we went to this format, because I realized very quickly that these kids need as much support as we can give them. And Jim said earlier that they handpicked teachers at Jeffries, I guess it was. I don't think that's a huge problem, right? I mean, you need people. Steve was the same way. Every department head is teaching in this program, every single one of them, because we were the ones who were championing the program. We're the ones who went to the staff and said, we want to do this. So of course we're the ones who are going to be in the classroom doing that work and working together doing that work. But so, coming to Oakwood, for me, what's been a big difference, and I take a step back as well and say, most English teachers are really obviously passionate about books. And often you go into English because you love reading books, you love talking about books, and you love writing about what you read. The reality of a classroom is couldn't be further from that. As you discover very quickly, most kids aren't very passionate about books. They're not very passionate about reading. They don't want to talk about your stupid books, and that's fine, right? That's okay. We can deal with it. We realize really quickly, okay, we'll change our tactic a bit. But as Jim was also pointing out, if all you do is bring in, let's read Shakespeare, let's read Salinger, let's read Orwell, whatever. The reality is that even the good kids, even the best kids, aren't reading those books. Even the very best kids aren't reading those books.
Cole's notes,
right? And we're not, as a grade 9 English teacher now, we're not preparing kids to do university level English. The vast majority of our kids are not going to be going into university English. And that's not a problem. But we are preparing them to be good readers, writers, and thinkers. And that's where we start, right? How can we make sure they are solid readers, writers, and thinkers? And that's really the approach we're taking. And the first thing we do, and again, this is not all from me. I mean, I've taken ideas from all over the place. As Steve mentioned, we went into Runnymede and talked to an amazing teacher there, Sean Henderson, thank you, who was doing amazing work last year at Runnymede with a D-stream class. And I've had lots of support from other teachers over the year. In particular, another teacher who was really important at TSB to me was Rachel Cook, who was an instructional leader of English for a lot of years. She provided a lot of the background, too, over the years for this kind of work. But one of the things we do is make sure kids have a ton of choices to read and that they have time to read. So the first 15, 20 minutes of our class, I usually start with some little book talk. Here's this book, and I'm going to tell you about this book, and it's on the shelf here. And the kids can read whatever they like for that time period. And what I think is a really important key, I'm not going to ask them to do anything in particular with that book. Because there's honestly no better way to kill someone's love of reading than asking them to write about what they just read. Right? You need to make them think that reading is pleasurable. Because it isn't pleasurable. Right? But if you have to write about it every time you read a chapter, or answer some stupid chapter questions that someone got on the internet, no one wants to do that. No one wants to do that. And not even the best kid wants to do that. So we're making sure that, I always tell them, if you get nothing else out of high school, I want you to think that reading is fun. That's it, right? That's like the best thing I give you from high school English, that you will continue reading once you're done high school English. Right? Of course we do talk about themes and characterization, all that kind of stuff. But you don't go out in the world talking about themes and characterization. You go out and talk about the books you read and why you like them. Right? So I guess we're approaching it more from a reader response idea. Why do you like this? Right? Find what you like to read and encourage them. And I talk to them. I say, oh, you like that book? Awesome. Here's this book. You like that one too? Great. Now I'm going to get you this one. Or there's something you want to read? Let me know. I'm not a librarian. I'll buy that book and make sure it's in the library for you. Right? And I bring those books in for them. I want them to, part of it's getting to know who they are. So you can give these things from having discussions with them so you know what they want to do. To give you another little anecdote, we had a grade 8 day where the grade 8 students come in and I was showing them all the graphic novels we do at the beginning of the year. And I was describing this one graphic novel and it says about this kid who grows up in Chicago, he gets involved in a gang, he ends up shooting a girl accidentally and all this stuff. And this one kid sitting near me says, I read that book. And the teacher came to me and said, I need to get that book. That's the first book he's expressing any interest in reading. Right? So
Was it yummy?
The teacher had the materials.
Was it yummy?
It was yummy, right? They all want to read yummy, right?
They all
So
want
it's
to read
great,
yummy.
right? Because
They
there's
all
so
want to read
many
yummy.
serious issues going on in yummy
Yeah.
that you can talk about. It's a great graphic novel that they love. They all want to read it. But once you've hooked him on one book, he's going to want to read something else, or you can direct him to something else. So we're really big on it. So that's one of the things that I'm so big on, is just reading anything you want. And now, so the amazing thing about that is, you know, in the days when teachers would assign whatever, here, let's read, I don't know, To Kill a Mockingbird, which is fantastic. It's on my bookshelf, and kids can read it, and a couple kids have picked it up, right? When you see that on, it's in those days when all you did was assign that, the kids weren't reading it, and we weren't getting anywhere. But now that they have so much choice, they've read, all of my students in grade 9 have read at least 4 different graphic novels. And we're a half day, we're a full-year school, so we've only really seen these kids maybe 20 times. And the short period I've had them, they've all read 4 or 5 different graphic novels. A lot of them have moved on to novels. This is well more than they would have read last year. And what we noticed is that throughout high school, they might come in reading a lot, but that quickly drops to almost nothing by grade 12. So we're trying to make sure they have a lot, they're reading a lot, and that they're really getting that behind them. That's been so important. The other thing, am I going well over?
Questions? Questions? You want to get questions?
The other thing that's been super important is lots and lots of writing in the course. And writing doesn't have to be done with after you read a book. So I work a lot with images. So I'll bring, the New York Times has an amazing feature called What's Going On in This Picture. And it's a weekly feature where you can show an image, and you teach them strategies like, okay, what do we know about, you know, can we predict? Can we ask questions? Can we connect to things? Can we infer? Can we do all these things? Those are the skills of reading that good readers all have and know, but struggling readers don't. So we teach them those skills. We give them a picture, and they start writing about, oh yeah, I see this, I see that. And as you know, for people who don't like to write, it's very, very difficult for them to write from nothing, obviously. They need something to write with. You give them an image, and they can suddenly, at the very least, they can describe it. Right? And you can work with them on describing it. And then that turns into bigger discussions. They can describe, now they're getting into questioning, and maybe predicting, maybe connecting. And so from one picture, they suddenly have this paragraph of writing that they've done. And some of these kids, again, these are kids who, when I had them in let's say, the similar kids in other applied courses, if I could get a sentence out of them in a class, that was an achievement. Now, in the first 20 minutes of class, in the first half hour, they've read something and written a paragraph. We're seeing a huge, huge, huge jump in actual work being done. And that's often the case when you look at, if you go into an applied class, there's often, older applied classes, there's often very little work getting done. And now we're seeing that kind of jump. By changing the curriculum a bit, having all the kids grouped together, and they really, it's like they're pushing themselves to do better all the time.
And that image that he's talking about, he would put up on a screen. You would talk about it as a group. What do you think? Someone would say this. What do you think? Yeah, have you thought of this? And then there would be discussion. And then they would be writing about it afterwards. So it's not that you give them individually sitting there. That it's collaborative. You hear, you pick up off the learning from other people. You're interacting. This is an image that you see as, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I never thought of that. And you start talking about it and then writing about it. Sort of.
Yeah, and there's no point. I mean, again, there's no point reading and writing about Shakespeare if you can't. If you can't even write a sentence yet, or you can't write a decent paragraph. Why am I going to give you Shakespeare to start? It doesn't make a lot of sense, right? Let's start small and build up. You can get to Shakespeare if they want to get to Shakespeare. Again, it's still on the shelves. They can read it anytime they want. But we have to figure out where they're at and build them up so they feel confident about what they're doing and they're prepared. That's why I've seen a huge change, and it's been so much more exciting, I guess, this year than previous years for me as a